Good evening. Tom Ginn here. Elevate your profits. My partner in crime, Mark Gassert, is in the green room. We're coming on here in a minute, but I just wanted to kick this off tonight. We have a friend, a colleague that I've known for 5 years that we'll be introducing here, Chuck Charris. We have collaborated together with a program he's established here in the Milwaukee area called EIB, Excellent in Business, and we put on a forum every month helping business owners how to survive and be more prosper in business. And Chuck today is going to expound on that, and you're in for a treat, a real treat from Chuck Harris. But before we bring Chuck in, I'm going to bring my colleague in crime here, Mark Gassert. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, I'm doing great, Tom. As always, doing great. It's always good to be out here. Man, I can't wait to hear what Chuck Harris has to say tonight. I feel like I know this guy because we were talking in the green room here, and it's just amazing the things that he just shared, like little nuggets. And at the age that we are, not that we're ancient, I wish like 20 years ago I would have known Chuck Harris, man, because the guy has definitely has a story to tell, and I think everybody's going to be impressed. You know, the fact that he's hit the high of the highs and the lows of the lows, and I'm really curious to know, Tom, about. You mentioned EIB. Whenever I hear that, I think of Rush Limbaugh, excellence in broadcasting, but I know what this is tonight. And he's a champion of small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. And what he's going to share tonight, if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper available, all you entrepreneurial types, I would listen to what this gentleman's talking about when it comes to your business and the future of it, because I was amazed at some of the facts and figures he threw at us just in the 5 minutes we talked.
Yeah, and yeah, everybody's in for a treat. You know, are we ready to bring in Chuck?
Oh, absolutely. I think big time ready. I'm ready to rock and roll with this gentleman.
Well, I see him. He's munching on those blue M&Ms we left him. He requested for the green.
Okay.
We'll bring him in. Chuck, are you ready, my friend? We're ready to go, my friend. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. Great to be here. Great to know you two guys, and to know that we're speaking to the group of people that I live to help. Entrepreneurs are the people that I. As a matter of fact, if you're an entrepreneur, I want to tell you something that I feel very strongly, that if the United States is going to survive. And I have to confess that I have my moments when I wonder whether it is or not. It will be because of the spirit of entrepreneurialism that you all hold in your hearts. If anything's going to save us, other than the Creator smiling down on us, it's going to be the spirit that you bring to work every day, or that you take to work every day, to put it all on the line and create value for which people are willing to pay. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I have also been an employee. I don't consider myself the best employee because I do like to make my own rules. So I'm driving down the street today after having lunch with my wife, and she's bristling at something about rules. And I turned over to her and I said, "You don't do really well with rules, do you?" And so anyway, so. The name of of your program is called Elevate Your Profits. What I'd like to do tonight, if I may, is just edit that a little bit and rename this part that I'm going to do called Elevate Your Expectations. Because principle number one, if you're taking notes, and I just want you to take away something that you can use. So I'll give you this little heads up. If you are taking notes, you can write this down because you can take it to the bank. We get what we think about. You think positive thoughts, you bring positives into your life. You think negative thoughts, you bring crap into your life. It's just that simple. And the other thing, principle number two, I think would be we get more of what we're grateful for. Now, at my age, I'm going to be 75 in a few days. I wake up in the morning and I say, thank you, God, for waking me up. I'm grateful. Or as one of my former competitors in the piano business, when I was in the music business, used to say, every day above ground, he said, at my age, every day above ground is a good day. And that's how I look at it. So here's something that every one of my clients hears me say. And if you've got the pencil in your hand, write this down: 27,375. 27375. 27,375 days is the number of days you will be on this planet if you live to be 75 years old. If you're 50, and I wind up talking to a lot of 50-year-old business owners, particularly male business owners. If you're 50, you have 9,000 days left. If you're going to be retired for 10 years, you have to take off 3,650 days to be retired, which means you have 5,350 days left to make happen whatever it is that you want to happen. Now, I'm an acceleration guy, partly out of self-defense because I have so little time left that if I don't make it happen fast, it just won't. It's not going to happen. So that's why I'm an acceleration freak. If I help somebody, I want to help them so that the results they get happen now. So
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
As Mark alluded to when we started, share a little bit about your background. You're originally going to become a teacher.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a family of alcoholics. And so it was really important for me to get out of the house because it was a dysfunctional house. And I know my parents loved me, but they loved escaping from their problems more than they loved facing them. I guess that was it. So I became a workaholic, really. I just worked all the time. Every excuse to be out of the house, I would grab it and get out of the house. I became a Boy Scout, then an Eagle Scout, then I got a job. I wound up working for a living from the time I was 12, I guess.
Wow.
And so anyway, so hard work has always been something that I just did. I did it almost as an escape. And one of my collaborators recently told me, he said, Harris, you just love to be busy. And yet the EIB, the Excellence in Business Group, which we did rip off, by the way, from Rush Limbaugh, but I figured he was never going to come after me because it's not excellence in broadcasting, it's excellent in business. And what I've learned is it's far easier to run a business that works well than it is to run one that's fallen apart. Ask me how I know that, because I've done that. So anyway, one of the activities that I did when I was a kid was I got into the band, and so I got to actually be around more normal people, and then that was a school band, and then I joined the municipal band. So then I got to relate to adults that were a bit more normal than the people that I was living with. And so I got, at a young age, I got to relate very well to adults. The mayor was in the band, and the city attorney was in the band, and I get to know all of these people, and I'm a fraction of their age and talk to them like you and I are talking right now. So I've never been intimidated. I mean, titles don't impress me, position doesn't impress me. It just never did. So anyway. So I decided to become a band director. So I went to school, got a degree in music, and became a music teacher. And I got out of that really fast because I figured out it didn't take me very long at all to realize that I couldn't stand to be around people. Pardon me to any teachers that are on listening to this. I could not stand to be with people who believed the three best things about teaching were June, July, and August. I couldn't deal with it.
I knew he was going to say that.
So I got a job, and while I'm going to school, I get a job in a music store. And the guy who owned the music store became what I'm going to call my first mentor, who taught me some things that I'm going to share with you tonight. That's how good they were. And I still remember him fondly almost every day because I share things that he taught me way back then. And that's 55 years ago, by the way. So then I got into the music business. I mean, literally music business, printed music. And then I got approached. We did some clinics at the local piano store. And the guy who ran the piano store thought I had something between my ears. And they finally coached me away. And I wound up in the piano business for 30 years, became a Steinway dealer. We were one of the top 200 music chains in the country, and learned a lot about luxury marketing. So then, as every client hears me say, if you're not where you want to be, it's always going to be for one of three reasons: something you don't know, something you're doing you shouldn't be doing, or something you could be doing that you haven't started to do yet. Why haven't you started to do it? Because you're working way too hard for the money you make. Nobody taught you, nobody showed you, and you just haven't taken time to figure it out because you don't have the time to figure it out because you're working way too hard for the money you make. So I was not in business for 30 years. I was a very, very good salesperson. Eventually became a manager, then the general manager, then part owner, and then I got to buy the whole company. And I was a great salesperson, but I was a lousy manager and didn't know what I know today. And so because of not knowing what I needed to know and doing things I shouldn't have been doing and not doing things that I could have been doing, it cost me $1 million to close that business 30 years later. And I lost just about everything except my wife. All my money, property, and we never lost our home, but did lose an investment property that I had to foreclosure. So I've bumped along and hit my head just about every place you can hit your head. And so here I am 15 years later. And I also had cancer 15 years ago. And I don't have cancer today. And I lost $1 million, but I got it all back and then some. And so I'm the apostle of the better outcomes theory. Better outcomes are always possible. They are always possible. I don't care where you are. And I also have a theory about, being old. I'm going to be 75 in a couple of weeks. And I read it in a book by a guy named Matthew Kelly. He said, if you're working on something and it's something that God wants you to do, then your age is his problem. And that's how I look at this. All of that, and I pray every day, God, send me the people that need what you've taught me. And they keep showing up. They just keep showing up. I have a module in the program that I built called the Accelerated Cash Flow Business Development Blueprint. 12 modules that if I had known these 12 things and had done them, I would not have gone out of business. So I offer that to clients as their antidote to failure. 80% of businesses fail in America before their 10th anniversary. 30% of them fail in the first year. Another 20% of them fail in the next couple of years, and fully 80% of business startups fail before they're 10 years old.
Wow.
One of the tragic things is that of the 80% who fail, 80% of those never try again. And that's a real loss. Something even more tragic, though, is of the 20% who succeed past 10 years, 80% of those businesses never sell when they're put on the market because they have not been systematized to operate profitably by remote control. So they wind up struggling and dying a slow death, really, and never being able to realize a big return on their life's work because they failed to systematize. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of my business life. And I had a collaborator a couple of years ago in the insurance business who said, Harris, you're the only guy that I've ever run across who lost $1 million. You tell everybody about it and you make a living from it. He said, he says, you're the only guy I've ever run across that did. So
That's classic, Chuck.
So I hope, I hope somebody out there, just like when I became a band director, I thought I went into music because I thought music saved my life. Being able to play in the band, work in a team of other musicians, meet normal people, meant everything to me. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get into music because if I could touch one life of some kid like me that was dying a slow death because of being in an alcoholic household, if I could reach one kid like that, it'll have been worth it. That's why I decided to become a band director. And I remember when I decided to get out of teaching, and I never really got into it. I mean, I did some teaching, but I was in and out so fast it would make your head spin. And my wife said to me at the time, she said, "Boy, you really wasted all that time and money on your education, didn't you?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so, because here I am, 55 years later, I'm still teaching. I'm doing what I'm hoping to do today is teach, and I've got something to say about that." But and I want to make a little disclosure here, based on something that I learned from my brief teaching career, which I'll share with you in a minute. I want somebody who's on the line here tonight, hopefully everybody, but somebody, to take something that I say and to actually be able to use it. One of the things that I do is I spend an hour with each client before they sign up with me, and just listen to them for an hour, and no cost, no obligation. Just talk to me about what you want. They hear me say, if I could touch your forehead with a magic wand, what is it that you'd like me to do? And they'll tell me what they want me to do. Then I know what they want. From that moment forward, I know how to construct the conversation so that it's all about them. Everything I do after they tell me what they want is devoted to helping them get what they want. So what I want today is for people to take something that resonates with them and actually be able to turn it into an actionable step, which I call a high payoff activity. I speak the language of high payoff activities. I like to tell people that there is no financial gain or benefit to doing the wrong thing perfectly. Business owners fail because they spend 80% of their time doing 80% of activities that are the wrong thing in terms of making the business operate the way it could. So anyway, I want to apologize in advance for the fact that somewhere along the line, I'm going to say something that's going to offend somebody. Now, it doesn't bother me because every day I say something that offends my wife. I'm used to that. So, and I don't want to be offended I like to tell people I don't give advice. Even though people pay me to do the coaching program I sell them, I don't tell you to do anything. I've been married 50 years. My wife taught me 50 years ago, it's not a high payoff activity to tell her what to do. So I've stayed married for 50 years by staying true to not telling my wife to do. Well, what I'll tell her is, I'll give you some options. Here's the things that you could do if she's asking me, or here are the things that we could do. You pick the one you want to do, and when you've chosen what you'd like to do out of the options that I've laid out, I'll help you get that ball across the goal line faster, better, and cheaper than if you wander around out there by yourself. That's what I do. That's what acceleration is made out of. It's made out of taking something that could take a long time and making it happen in a short time. So the most important thing for me today is that somebody remembers something that I say. And sometimes I use humor. Sometimes I use language that some people would not consider in polite company. But if I can get you to remember something that I say, this is a good day for me. And here's why. The normal human ability to retain is 15% within 24 hours. I know that no matter what I say today, this time tomorrow, you will have forgotten 85% of it. So I learned that long ago as a salesperson. I learned then you cannot talk yourself into a sale. You can only talk yourself out of a sale.
Amen to that.
So the 15% of things that I'd like you to remember, it might be funny. I might tell you a dirty story that'll make sure that you remember it. I might use language that you wouldn't expect to hear from a guy like me. If it's going to help you remember, I'm not going to hesitate to use it. So, so my teacher's story is that when I was assigned a place to student teach, I wound up teaching in Milwaukee at a school called Rufus King High School, which in 1970 had an 98% Black student population. So here I am, a 25-year-old white kid from a town that never saw a black face ever, small town in Wisconsin, and now I'm teaching an all-black orchestra. And here I'm thinking, you know, at age 25, I just graduated, or I'm about to graduate. I'm thinking I really knew something. And those wonderful black kids taught me that not only did I not know something, not only did I not know the answers, I didn't even know the questions. And so here's what I learned that caused me to say what I said a moment ago. You're not a teacher because you have an education. You're not a teacher because they give you a degree. You're not a teacher because they give you a job. You're not a teacher because they gave you a certificate saying you're qualified to teach. You're not a teacher because a school system gives you a job, and you're not a teacher because they put you in front of a class. The only time you're a teacher is when somebody's learning. It's the only time you're a teacher. I try to make sure that whenever I'm talking to somebody, somebody's learning. So I'm going to ask you as a favor, if you learned something tonight, would you send me an email that says you learned? Tell me what you took away. It'll make an old guy very happy if you do that, number one. And number two, if you do that, I will return that email thanking you, and I will attach to it the 12 steps that I built to keep businesses from failing. It's the content of the workbook, the accelerated cash flow workbook. So I'll make that offer. If you're kind enough to tell me that you actually got something out of this and what it was, I'll appreciate it. And then I'll return email, you will get a copy of the outline of the 12-step process that has helped 1 out of 4 people earn more money in 12 weeks than they earned in the previous 12 months. It's helped a business that was losing $250,000 a year. A year later, actually a year and a half later, had gone from losing $250,000 to making $250,000. So that's a $500,000 swing in 18 months. And that swing in the financials made it possible for a strategic buyer to come to the table and write the guy a check for $500,000 for his business, and then rent his building that paid him $125,000 in rent, which was twice as much as he was earning when running the company when he was losing all that money. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about acceleration. When things go right, they can go right in a hurry. We've all experienced how things can go bad in a hurry. When you're doing the right things, things can go right in a hurry. And I try to hold that thought. We can help things go right in a hurry. But anyway, what we're looking to do here tonight is to ignite your business success in 2021. So I'm going to go back to the guy who was my first mentor and tell you principle number 3. It's TOCRTOO. Times of change are times of opportunity. Opportunity is bombarding you at every moment. Problem is, it's often disguised as hard work or adversity, sometimes sickness, and always as uncertainty. And when we fail to recognize the opportunity in all of that uncertainty, we leave dollars on the table. Now, everybody has what I've described, or actually what Matthew Kelly is the guy that gave me this term, that everybody has the seeds of greatness planted within. The God put them there. You were not put here to struggle. You were not put here to survive. You were put here to thrive. And the seeds of greatness that are in you need to be watered, nurtured, grown, and then shared with others, for which they pay you money. That's why I love business, because when you grow the seeds of greatness within you and you give those the product of those seeds of greatness, you give that away. You don't, those seeds were not put there for you. They're put there for you to give to someone else. And that's why I love business, because you give them away or you offer them to someone else. They pay you in return. And all of a sudden you're doing God's will. You're using the seeds of greatness. You're growing them. You're sharing them, and people back the truck up and dump a load of money on you. I mean, how could it be any better than that? So you were not put here to struggle in your business. If God wants you to be in the business that you're in, your cash flow should not suck. I'm sorry, but that shouldn't be happening. And you should not, and you should not be struggling. Your business should be great, if that's what you were put here to do. So I try to help people get that straight, because as I said to you in the green room, Mark,
right,
there is no joy to an entrepreneur greater than a business that cash flows. And there is no cross harder to bear than a business that does not cash flow.
right.
Ask me how I know this. So anyway, just like with a television set, if it's turned on, you get the signal, you can watch the show. If it's not turned on, the screen's blank, it's black. You have to be turned on to receiving the opportunity, the resources, the connections, the information that will help you accelerate. You've got to have the set turned on. So I
Chuck,
guess
I've got a question regarding turning the set on. Do you mind if I interject something here? You know, I've known you for quite a while, and you and I we study the same people, have the same philosophies about belief. So, what would you recommend to help people recognize opportunity? How do you turn the set on? What would you call that?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's to have an open mind to ask how, take whatever's happening to you, whatever it is. How can this be turned into opportunity or be turned into money? I mean, if you want to use money as an example, and I teach people to make money. I know how to teach people to make money. That's just a process. That's a tactic. Money is the result of the activities that you either do or you don't do. So we have a program that we do to help credit challenged business borrowers to get their loans approved quickly. It's called the QSLAP program, Quick Start Loan Approval and Credit Repair Program. We'll fix your credit, we'll get the derogatories removed, and we'll teach you what you need to know to get your loan approved. Something that every banker could do, but they don't because it's not in their job description. Banks aren't willing to take the risk of telling you to do something and then having you come back and say, hey, you told me to do this, my business still failed, here's my lawyer's number. They're not going to do that. It's called lender risk. They're not going to do it. I don't have any of that. I'm so it really has to do with the three. Okay, let me put it this way. Let me get right into the meat of the topic tonight because it answers your question. Is that fair, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's what you have to remember. These three things that you were promised I would tell you, and I haven't begun to tell you yet, and I apologize for that. The three things that will catapult you to results that you may not even believe are possible until you decide. Tom Ginn utter these words at an EIB meeting, Excellence in Business Entrepreneurs Roundtable. We're a group of business owners. We meet every month. The goal is to help business owners become less busy, more effective, and make more money. That's what we live for. Make you less busy, more effective, make more money. So you can transition from being way too busy for the money you make to being able to say, the less I do, the more I make. At long last, wishing I had another life to live, I finally figured out how to be able to say, the less I do, the more I make. And it has to do with that quote from Bob Proctor that you shared at the EIB meeting several years ago, Tom. The world changes when you decide. And if you're writing down, write this down. The world changes when you decide. The world, the universe, God Almighty is waiting to give you what you want. That's why it's important to decide. Because if you don't decide what you want, the universe doesn't know what to send you. So high payoff number one from today is to decide what you want to accomplish in 2021. Or what you want to accomplish by 2025, or what do you want to accomplish before you stop breathing? I mean, whatever it is, decide. Make a conscious, intentional decision about what you want. And as long as you're at it, think big. Joel Osteen, might be some fans of his in the audience. I'm pastor of a big church in Houston, Texas. Wrote in his book, Breakthrough, don't ask God for no $2 raise. He thinks bigger than that. So here's something that I've done. I'll just share it with you. I mean, only because, not to brag, I have nothing to brag about. I'm the idiot in the room here who lost $1 million. So I'm not bragging. But I've decided that I'm going to grow my net worth by $1 million this year. I've just decided. Now, here's something my clients always hear me say. If you don't have $1 million, you think that's a lot of money. And if you do have $1 million, you know it's not a lot of money. And here's how I illustrate this. So if you're writing, you might as well write this down. Write down $1 million. Next line underneath that, cut it in half. Write down $500,000. Next line, cross off the last zero and write what's left on the next line, $50,000. $50,000 is the income you can receive from $1 million investment if it's thrown off 5% a year. Divide that by 12, and I think you have $4,167. After tax of 25%, you're going to pay about you're going to get about $3,250, something like that. That's the income you get from $1 million. I deal with clients who have mortgage payments bigger than that. $1 million isn't going to do it. So either you need more millions or they need to cut their expenses. I always tell people, I'm not going to tell you how much you should spend. I don't care how much you spend. You just come in and tell me how much you spend, how much it costs you to keep your household going every month. That's all I want to know, because I want to build a business, can throw off that much money and more. And I need to know that. So I've just decided to build my wealth by $1 million. I just decided. Now, interesting, I decided this a month ago. And in that month, 2 opportunities came into my world, either one of which could give me the $1 million. I spoke what I wanted first, and the opportunity to create it showed up. Amazing, even to me. So I just decided. Now I'm going to go back to the guy who started this all by teaching me that times of change were times of opportunity. So that's one of the things, Tom, that I would tell you about. How do you figure out, how do you change what's going on into opportunity? First of all, you sit down and you look in the mirror and you say out loud, watch your lips move. Times of change or opportunity, or times of opportunity. Where's the opportunity in this mess? Where is it? And think about it. People spend so little time thinking anymore. They've got the radio on. You can't think when the radio is on. You can't think when you're watching television. Something else has commandeered your mind, and you can't think when somebody else is doing the thinking or doing the talking. So you need to get quiet and think. What's the opportunity? So here was my first mentor's name was Art, and he gave me 3 things. When you're confronted with an opportunity, ask yourself, 1, can I do it? Can I do this? Secondly, do I want to do it? And thirdly, will it pay? Here's an example. I'm a baseball fan.
You're speaking Mark's language now. He's an umpire, so you're
would love to be a right-handed pitcher in the major leagues, but there aren't too many 75-year-old arms can get the ball across the plate. So can I do this? Well, if I'm honest with myself, and of course, entrepreneurs have this unfathomable ability to delude themselves. So they might actually think, yeah, I can do this. But if I'm really going to be honest with myself, I'm going to say, no, I can't do this. Do I want to do it? I want to do it. I want to do it. And will it pay? Oh, they make big money. Well, one of the 3 is not missing, which means that my pursuing this is not going to be a successful endeavor. It's not going to end up well. So if I'm honest with myself and I just think about this and I'm honest, I'll say, I can't do this. Now, let's take the thing that I decided to do. Can I increase my goal is to increase my net worth by $1 million this year. Can I do that? Well, let's see. Has anybody done it? That's the first thing you have to. Has anybody done it? Well, Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon. When I started following him, he was renting an apartment in LA for $500. That's how long ago that was, when you could rent an apartment in LA for $500.
Wow. Yeah.
5 years later, he was worth millions, $10 million, I think. Anyway, so has anybody been able to increase their net worth in a year by $1 million? Well, I happened to read in the research I did for one of our EIB meetings that he increased his net worth in 2018 by $35 billion. 35 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. So he increased his income by 3,500 million. Just maybe it's possible for me to increase my net worth by 1 billion. So now I've done my research and I found out, yes, other people have increased their net worth by $1 million in 1 year. So now I've confirmed that. Secondly, do I believe that I can do it? And this guy who was my mentor said, Harris, I can do anything except fly. And I get in a plane for that, so I'm not even going to worry about it. So he had total confidence in his own abilities, which put some people off, but you need confidence. So can I do it? I believe I can. Do I want to do it? I want to do it because my wife, my wonderful wife that never deserted me, stuck with me through thick and thin, is now the focus of all I do in my business, which is to make my business generate more money when I sleep than she can spend when she's awake. So she's okay with that because her biggest fear is that I will retire and be home all day long, and that's her biggest fear. So she's okay with my plan. All right, so you can use this big 3 anytime you're facing a problem and wondering what should I do. Ask yourself, can I do it? Do I want to do it? Will it pay? It'll help you clarify your vision and avoid doing the wrong thing. Because as I said before, there is no financial reward to doing the wrong thing perfectly. 80% of business owners fail because 80% of business owners do the wrong thing perfectly.
Hey, Chuck, can
Yeah,
I just stop you there real quick? When
sure.
you mention that to a new business owner or an entrepreneur, how do they feel when you throw that 80% at them? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny here, but
Sure.
are they listening? Do they understand what you're telling them? Or
Well, they do, because typically, if they've been sent to me by a banker, an attorney, or accountant, they have financial issues, and they
okay,
realize that they're going to be one of the 80%. So they grab onto me pretty fast when they see that I made it back, and now I can show them how to do the same thing.
okay,
And I have yet to have anybody fail at this program. Nobody's failed.
wow,
No business has stopped that did the 12 modules.
Yeah, Chuck, can I just endorse what you're saying?
Sure.
Knowing you and the EIB and the people that have come through there, there's been some pretty significant turnarounds in people's businesses, and I know some of them people personally, and I know your influence, what it's done for me. I know you put a challenge out there through some teaching out there is doubling your income in 90 days. What most people make in a year, can you make it in 90 days? And
Yeah.
I remember that lesson, and
Yeah.
it came down to those three principles you talked about. You just make a decision. Can I do it? And are you willing to pay the price to do it? And you know what? That type of influence can turn people's lives around. And I just want
Well,
to recognize that, because I know some of the people you've worked with. I know how it's impacted me in my business, because I didn't have the belief that I could do that until I got some inspiration and direction from you. So I just wanted to compliment you.
well, how nice. Well, that really makes me feel wonderful. Uh,
Because this is not fluff. This is real world stuff.
So anyway, number one of the three things that you can do to accelerate your business in 2021 is decide. You can just remember that. Number two on our list of three things is write down your core value statement. Core value statement is a statement that incorporates the beliefs you hold that define who you are. And I have a module 4 in my program is I give people a list of 37 character traits. I said, pick out 5 that describe you, and we'll write your core value statement to incorporate those 5. Well, they have such a hard time getting it down to 5. I said, that's your job, get it down to 5. You have to decide which 5 matter to you. Which 5 describe you, whether you're working, playing, home arguing with your wife, whatever it is, who are you all of the time? Yeah. Then we build those beliefs into a statement that is reflected by what your business does and how it does it. Because you have to have your value. If you're going to build a business that can operate profitably by remote control, and you're not going to be there, remote control means you're not there. So if you're not there, believe me, your business is in trouble if your values aren't there working for you. You have to know your values so you can communicate those to the people who work with you, so that you can hire according to those values. And then you can leave your business knowing that your values are on the job, even though you're not. So the core value statement is critical. And here's mine, just to cut to the chase so that you know what it means. Everything I do is designed to help a business owner accelerate their cash flow so they can pay their bills every month. And then when we've done that, and their bills are paid every month, I help them systematize their business so that business can operate by remote control. And here's the litany that makes that important. Number one, systems run businesses. Business owners hire people to operate the systems. Systems create alignment. Alignment creates momentum. Momentum generates revenue. Revenue drives profit. Profit drives EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, the part of your loan payment that doesn't go to interest, that pays off the loan, that's amortization. And EBITDA drives the value of a business. The wake-up call to a business owner that's working way too hard for the money they make is they've got to realize that their job is to build EBITDA, because their business valuation is going to be a multiple of that EBITDA. So the more you grow the EBITDA, the more value your business has. And when that EBITDA is systematized, and when the growth of that EBITDA is backed up by systems that operate when you're not there, you now have a business that somebody's willing to pay a premium price for. And that's why 80% of those people who succeed past 10 years never get a big payday for their business, because they didn't systematize it. Everything I do is designed to, first of all, help you accelerate your cash flow, and then systematize that business so it can operate profitably by remote control. That's why cash flow matters. That's why systems matter. And that's why acceleration matters, because now you know what matters. And you also know from the 27,375 number how much time you have left to make it happen. So now you have the building blocks of what the rest of your life is going to look like.
Right.
You've decided what you want. You decided how much time you have left. And you now have the litany of things that have to get done in that time. When you focus on that and throw everything else to the curb, you'll get results. Acceleration will happen for you. I've never seen it fail in all the clients I've worked with. So finally, the third on our list of business accelerators is now you know what you believe, and you have a statement that has been constructed to communicate that belief. When I'm speaking to a group of people, like, and if you were in the room with me and you were going to have the chance to come up afterwards and talk to me, and your cash flow sucks, and you're working 80 hours a week because you're trying to do everything. And I say that everything I do is designed to help accelerate cash flow and systematize your business so it can operate without you. You're walking up to the front of the room and saying, hey, I need to talk to you. And if you don't get to talk to me while I'm in the room, you'll follow me out to my car. But you will not let me get out of the place until you've talked to me, if you've determined that you need what I can do. I call that getting the fish to chase the boat. I tell people at age 75, I have no energy whatsoever to squander on chasing people. I don't have the energy to chase anybody for any reason. You have to chase me. I can still sit up in a chair, drink my iced tea, and share with you what I've learned, and send you away with some things you can do to change your life. I can do that. I don't have any energy to chase you. So the next and third part is get yourself in front of people who can say yes and deliver value first. Now, there's a book by Jeff Kozar, and I don't think it's in print anymore, but it went with a software program called Selling to Zebras. Selling to zebras is the concept that if there's a herd of wild horses running down your street and there's one zebra in the middle of them, how hard is it to spot the zebra? Not very hard. Zebras are the people who need what you have the money to pay for it, like who you are, like the way you do business, and are ready to say yes. Those are zebras. The reason most salespeople have a terrible closing ratio is that they spend their life chasing people who are not zebras. So they burn themselves out trying to sell to the wrong people. When you only spend your time selling to zebras, the people who need what you want, can afford what you sell, and like how you do business because they understand your values, because you put them out there for them, your closing ratio goes from a lousy 15% to 80%. 80% of the people who sit down with me for an hour while they tell me what they need, answer my magic genie question. If I could touch your forehead with a magic wand, they tell me what they want. I tell them what I've done. I tell them about the program, how I was able to make it back, and how I can help them too. And I tell them, I know, after all I've been through, I can help you. I know I can help you. You just have to catch me while I'm still breathing. So 80% of those people, 80% of those people sit down with me for an hour, say, how do we get started? I don't try to sell them anything. I simply tell them what I do. And there's another principle worth writing it down. When you're talking about what you do, you're leaving money on the table. People don't care they don't care who you are. They don't care about your name. They don't care about your background. They don't care about anything. They care about solving their problem.
Yep.
So tell them what you do, not what your product or what your service will do for them, not what school you went to, or they just couldn't care about that. They just will not. So speak in terms of what it does, not what it is. And so the statement, that last thing then, is to get yourself in front of people who can say yes and deliver value first. The people to get yourself in front of are the zebras. My zebras are any business owner that's working way too hard for the money they make.
Which is almost
I've had people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and one that made $1 million a year in my office said, "You're right. I work way too hard for the money I make." Because if you can make $1 million a year being way too busy for the money you make, you roll back that, become less busy, more effective, you'll make more money even if you start at $1 million. So even the guy that was making $1 million agreed, "Yeah, you're right. I work way too hard for the money I make. What do you got for me?" So, so during that 60 minutes, I tell people, I give them my take on what the better outcome is for them. And so it's a great deal of fun and I tell them, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have all the money I need to live the rest of my life. I do this because I love it. I promised God when he saved me from cancer and gave me back my $1 million and even more, that I would just keep going till he stops me. So when he pulls the trigger, I'll be gone. But until then, till I stop breathing, I'm here to help people figure out how to become less busy, more effective, and make more money. And it's as much fun as an old guy can have. So now you know the 3 things that you can do that will propel you into the stratosphere in 2021 and beyond. Number one, regardless of COVID, regardless of uncertainty, regardless of the market crash that I see coming, regardless of the drop in real estate prices that I see on the horizon, regardless of any of that, you decide what you want, and then you become your own self-fulfilling prophecy. Know what you want, know what you believe, share your core value statement with people who need what you sell or what you have, like they need their next breath. Get in front of those people and deliver value first, however you're going to do that. Now, as I said, if you will email if you learn something from what I've shared here tonight, send me an email that says what it was, and I'll return a copy of the 12-step blueprint to you, so you'll have the recipe. And if you can bake the cake on your own, I'm happy for you. If you need some help, I'm available to do that as long as I'm breathing. So I'll get that back to you, and then and I'll also send you a link to some videos of people who've done the program and what they said, because it really grabbed me when they told me how much this program meant to them, which gave me the courage to go on and do what I'm doing now, which is really just creating awareness for the program, because it's saved so many people. I know that marriages have been saved. I know buildings and homes have been saved. I know businesses have been saved, and it all makes all the crap that I went through meaningful, because it can help somebody else. So I want to finish with a story about how to position yourself to get success when you're asking for things. And it's called, I call it my "Do you want to buy a toothbrush" story. And it has to do back in the days when there was a Fuller Brush Company. People would actually sign on as agents, and they'd carry around a case full of brushes, and they'd knock on doors. And back then, the ladies of the home were open, or I mean, they were home, and they didn't work back in those days. And so you'd knock on the door, and so Tom Ginn, we'll use his as an example. Let's say Tom was a full of brush salesman. He wasn't doing very well. So Tom's area manager calls him in and says, Tom, you're a great guy and you're working hard, but you're not making your numbers. And this is a sales organization. If you don't make your numbers, we have to replace you. So I'm going to give you 30 days to get your numbers up. And then you can keep your job. And if you can't get your numbers up, we're going to have to replace you. Do you understand? Yes, Tom says, yes, I understand. Now, as long as I do appreciate how hard you work. So what I'm going to do here to help you is I'm going to send you out with Mark, who's our top salesperson. And hopefully you can learn something from Mark that helps you get your numbers up. And we'll have a meeting of 30 days from now. We'll see what's going on. So Tom tags along with Mark. And 30 days later, the area manager calls Tom in and says, Tom, I can't believe what I see. Your numbers are off the charts. There's only one. You were the bottom salesperson in this company. And now you're second only to Mark. And Mark's our best guy, and he's been at it for 20 years. What happened? And he said, well, when I went out with Mark, I realized that I was doing it all wrong. I used to knock on the door, and the lady would come to the door, and I'd say, hi, my name's Tom Ginn. I'm with a Fuller Brush Company. She'd slam the door in my face. I'd get discouraged. I'd go home. I wouldn't make another call for 3 days. But when Mark knocked on the door, he had this little silver tray in his hand, and on the silver tray was crackers, and there was spread and hors d'oeuvres and the little toothpicks with the cellophane on them. And he'd knock on that door, and the lady would come to the door, and he'd say, hi, my name's Mark. Before we talk, would you care for an hors d'oeuvre? And the lady said, well, thank you. And she'd take the hors d'oeuvre, and she'd take a bite out of it, and she'd spit it out, and she said, that tastes like shit. He said, it is. Would you like to buy a toothbrush?
I knew.
So when you are selling, and I grew up I've spent 30 years as a salesperson, so I love selling. I love the process. I love the victory. It's called brain bending. I learned that it's called brain bending. And so I learned that the way you get people to buy something, in the piano business, you got to understand, nobody needs a piano. You can live a perfectly happy life and never touch a piano. And yet I sold pianos that were $50,000 to $100,000, and I did fairly routinely and became a millionaire doing it. Just that I was a terrible manager, so it didn't get me very far.
Right.
So now I wish I'd known then what I know now, because then I wouldn't know what to do with all the money I had. But the point is, the secret is not to chase people and try to get them to buy. The secret is to attract people and make them want what you have. Because when they want what you have, there's no salesmanship involved. Which is why I love it when people say, well, how do we get started? I love this. I need to do this. How do we get started? I don't try to sell anything. I don't need to sell anything. I need to tell them what this program does. And when they decide that they need it, they ask me to buy. I don't ask them to buy. They ask me to buy. You can do the same thing. Module 7, I think, of the program is teaching you to market to get the fish to chase the boat. Anybody can get the fish to chase the boat. You just have to do a few things differently than you're doing them now. And that's how I believe I can add $1 million in my net worth this year, thinking bigger, believing I can do it, and then deciding what I will do on a daily basis. I have a page that I give everybody. It's called the Billionaire's To-Do List. One thing. The 3 things that we talked about today are the things that will knock your business out of the park. But it comes down to one thing. Taking action. What is the one thing I will do today that will ensure that I'm on the road to earning or putting $1 million on my net, adding $1 million in my net worth? I have the list. I have 12 things that I need to do. and I look at it every day. So make sure that I'm always doing something on that path, because there are multiple pathways to getting to that number, and I want to make sure that they're all in play. And so I want to make sure that they focus on the right thing. So the billionaire's to-do list says, what will I do today to ensure that I reach my optimum financial goal of adding $1 million to my net worth by December 31st? What will I do today? Not what could I do? That leaves room for an excuse. I didn't have time. I could do that, but I had others. Something else was more pressing. What will I do? Make that commitment to yourself. I will do this. I will do this today. And I will be one day closer to that $1 million. And so will you. So my offer to you is that if you want to spend an hour with me via Zoom, or if you're in the Milwaukee area, we can sit down in my office. But if you want to do it on Zoom, I'll offer you the same thing I offer to everybody else. Sit down with you for an hour, hear what you've got to say, hear what's going on, tell you what I see could accelerate your results. No charge, no cost, no obligation, just happy to share what I've learned with another entrepreneur that's struggling to keep it together. I want to keep entrepreneurs alive because, as I told you at the beginning, if our country survives, it's going to be because of you. Every one of you that I can help survive is another person that's going to help this country stay great.
Yeah.
And so that's my story.
Chuck, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. Mark, any questions or any thoughts?
I'm sorry if I was looking down. I was taking notes. Here I am. I'm taking notes, but just some awesome stuff you shared with us and your approach. I will say this: you could be a comedian doing this, because you have that approach, that deadpan. You're serious, but there's some one-line zingers if you pay attention.
I have a guy that says, he calls them Chuckisms.
Yeah.
He says, Harris, you have to write a book. He says, I'm going to lock you in a room and I'm not going to let you out till you write that book. Right. So I started a file called Chuckism. So I'm working on it.
And thank you for sharing the toothbrush story, because I will probably implement that tomorrow on my calls. I enjoy, or when I do it virtually, because that's a great point that you just the fuller brush.
I tell that story the way I heard it. That's the way I heard it. So that's the way I tell it. Yeah. Because I'm not a politically correct person. I'm not going to change what I do, what I believe, what I say to make anybody happy. I'm going to lay it out there, and the people who relate to it are going to relate to me, and that's all I'm looking for. I wasn't put on this earth, nor were you, to help everybody, but we are all put here to help somebody.
Right.
So let's get down to the business of making sure that every one of these wonderful entrepreneurs around this call become less busy, more effective, and make more money. And
I love the zebra factor too,
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But thank you. I've learned a lot tonight.
Wonderful. Great to meet you.
Right.
Chuck, let me hear from you guys. I'll get back to you with the free copy of the blueprint and spend that hour with you if you like.
Wonderful. Chuck, as a friend and a colleague and working together with EIB, if you want to know more about EIB, I'm going to plug that. Is that okay, Mark?
Sure.
Our excellent business. You can send me, and I don't know if I got Mark's here, an email. If you want to know more about EIB, we do it virtually right now. But you want to find out more, we bring speakers in just like this. Chuck pontificates what he's experienced and that. If you want to learn about that, just put in the header to me, EIB, and I'll get you a schedule of our excellence in business roundtable that we do monthly. So that's another way to, if you're going to win in life, find winners to hang with. That's the key. Grow yourself, and the relationship I have with Mark and who he's turned. Everything I have done is where I am today isn't because of Tom Ginn so talented. As I plugged in and taken advice from people like Chuck and other people. If you want to become great, find those that are doing great things. And Chuck, you do great things for people. I know some of the stories out there, and I know you've influenced me. So I'm going to put you in the green room just for a couple of minutes. and Mark and I are going to close it out, and then we'll be right back with you.
Okay,
So
fine.
Thank you again, Chuck.
that was awesome.
Tremendous. And my take on the whole thing, you want authenticity. That man has it. He is the real deal. He is what I call real, raw, and resilient. And he proved that tonight. The fact that he was at the highest of high, $1 million plus, and then, he went to rock bottom and then he accelerated back up to the top. And he has a great attitude. That's the other thing that stuck out in my mind, and it's just awesome to be around a person like that. But I truly did love the toothbrush story. So I will have to use that tomorrow because I have a couple people I'm going to be dealing with on virtual calls. So, it'll be a lot of fun to expose them to that story. So, but I love his message, and it's a take it or leave it proposition. I mean, he doesn't beat you over the head, and he said, it's like tonight, decide, your core values, what you believe in, and then, implement it. It's pretty simple stuff.
And why do we make it so difficult, right? Success
Right.
leads
No,
clues.
absolutely. We get
Yeah.
in the way of it, and that's the truth.
Yeah. Well, Mark, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let everybody know who's coming on next week. Is that okay with
Cool.
you?
That's tremendous. Go for it.
Yeah, David Bellman from the Bellman Homes here in the Milwaukee are a very significant developer, recent author, uh, coach, business leader within our community. He's coming in next week. So mark your calendar. He's got a great story as well. David Bellman from Bellman Homes, one of the most significant builders in the Waukesha County area here in Milwaukee. So we're going to have another treat next week. So turn on your notifications. Mark, anything else in closing?
No, I would, you know, I think Chuck's the type of guy. Maybe later on we bring him back, man. Just to
Absolutely.
yeah, and he's a really unique individual. I love his story, and I can tell he's very spiritual. I won't get into all that, but definitely, you have to after what you've gone through from what he shared with us tonight, and just makes you look inside yourself. I was just listening and thinking, I think I have problems, and then I hear this guy, and it's just everybody has a story, and you just learn from it, and that's what keeps me going. It motivates me.
Yeah. When you hear the truth, we know the truth. The universal laws, God, or whatever, we know when we hear it. So, and Chuck speaks truth. It resonates with me, and I appreciate him as a colleague in business. So, we are. Anything else, Mark?
That's it. Hey, just want to thank everybody that hopped on board tonight, shared it out. Some couple of you did because
Yeah,
you're
we
doing other
acknowledge some of
things.
our fans out there.
Right. We respect your time and thank you for hopping on board. Those of you that catch the replay, let us know what you think.
Yeah, tag and share, because we never know who we can influence and help. So I appreciate that as well. So we are going to sign out. Anything else, Mark?
That's it.
Okay, buddy. So hang on there. Here we go.